My Grandmother by Khushwant Singh C45. Adopted and modified by Khushwant Singh Sandhu. Content 1. My grandmother. 2. Comprehension. 3. Picture dictionary page. 1. My grandmother adapted from Khushwant Singh. My grandmother was very old. She had been old for as long as I knew her, 20 years. Her face was full of wrinkles and her hair was white. People said she was young and pretty once, but I could not imagine that. My grandfather's picture hung in our living room. He had a big turban, loose clothes and a long white beard. He looked very old, like he could only have grandchildren, not a wife. The idea of my grandmother being young seemed strange. She told us stories about games she played as a child, but we thought those stories were silly, like the religious tales she shared. My grandmother was short, a little fat, and walked with a bend. Her face had many wrinkles. We thought she was always old, never young or pretty. But to me she was beautiful. She wore clean white clothes and leaned on her waist to walk. She held prayer beads in her hand and prayed quietly all the time. Her white hair was messy on her pale face and her lips moved as she prayed. She was peaceful like a snowy mountain in winter, calm and quiet. We were good friends. When my parents moved to the city, they left me with her in the village. We were always together. Every morning she woke me up and got me ready for school. She sang her prayers while she bathed and dressed me. She wanted me to learn the prayers, but I only listened because I liked her voice. She gave me a wooden slate, which she cleaned and covered with yellow chalk. She also gave me a small ink pot and a pen, tied them together, and handed them to me. For breakfast, I ate a thick old chapati with a little butter and sugar. Then we walked to school. She brought extra chapatis for the village dogs. Our school was next to a temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and prayers. The children sat outside, singing the alphabet or prayers together. My grandmother sat inside the temple, reading holy books. When we finished, we walked home together. The village dogs waited at the temple door. They followed us, barking and fighting for the chapatis we threw to them. Later, my parents settled in the city and asked us to join them. This changed our friendship. My grandmother did not come to school with me anymore. I went to an English school on a bus. There were no dogs in the city streets, so she started feeding sparrows in our courtyard. As time passed, we spent less time together. She still woke me up and got me ready for school. When I came home, she asked what I learned. I told her about English words, science, gravity, and that the world is round. She was not happy. She could not help me with my lessons. She did not like that the school taught no lessons about God or holy books. One day I told her we had music lessons. She was upset. To her, music was for bad people, not good families. She stayed quiet, but I knew she did not like it. After that, she spoke to me less. When I went to university, I got my own room. Our friendship changed more. My grandmother stayed alone. She sat with her spinning wheel, making thread and praying all day. She only stopped in the afternoon to feed the sparrows. She sat outside breaking bread into small pieces. Many sparrows came around her making loud noises. Some sat on her legs, shoulders, or even her head. She smiled and never pushed them away. This was her happiest time of the day. When I decided to study abroad for 5 years, I thought she would be sad. She was old and I worried about her. But she was strong. At the train station, she did not speak or cry. Her lips moved in prayer and her fingers counted her prayer beads. She kissed my forehead quietly. I remembered that kiss, thinking it might be our last touch. But I was wrong. After 5 years, I came back home. She met me at the station. She looked the same, not older. She hugged me, praying quietly. That day she spent more time feeding her sparrows, talking to them with small scolds. That evening something changed. She did not pray. Instead, she gathered the women from our neighborhood. She took an old drum and started singing. She hit the drum and sang songs about warriors coming home. She sang for hours. We asked her to stop so she would not get too tired. It was the first time I saw her not pray. The next morning she was sick. The doctor said it was a small fever and she would be okay. But my grandmother thought differently. She said her time was near. She told us she skipped her prayers the night before and now she would only pray, not talk. We tried to argue but she did not listen. She lay in bed praying and holding her beads. Soon her lips stopped moving and the beads fell from her hand. Her face looked peaceful and we knew she was gone. We lifted her from the bed and placed her on the ground, as is our custom. We covered her with a red cloth. After some time of sadness, we left to prepare her funeral. In the evening, we went to her room with a simple stretcher to take her for cremation. The sun was setting and her room was bright with golden light. We stopped in the courtyard. Thousands of sparrows were on the floor in her room and around her body. They were quiet, not chirping. We felt sad for them. My mother broke bread into small pieces like my grandmother did and threw it to them. The sparrows did not eat. When we carried my grandmother's body away, the sparrows flew away quietly. The next morning, the sweeper cleaned the breadcrumbs and threw them away. 2 comprehension questions and answers. 1 question. What physical characteristics define the grandmother's appearance as described by the narrator? 2 question. How did the narrator perceive the idea of his grandmother being young and pretty? 3 question. What daily routine did the grandmother follow with the narrator when they lived in the village? 4 question. How did the grandmother spend her time while the narrator was at school in the village? 5 question. What changed in the grandmother's relationship with the narrator after they moved to the city? 6 question. Why was the grandmother upset about the narrator's music lessons? 7 question. What activity brought the grandmother the most joy in her later years? 8 question. How did the grandmother react when the narrator left to study abroad for 5 years? 9 question. What unusual behavior did the grandmother exhibit the evening before she fell ill? 10 question. How did the sparrows behave when the grandmother's body was prepared for cremation? Answers. 1 answer. The grandmother was short, a little fat, walked with a bend, had a wrinkled face, white messy hair and wore clean white clothes. 2 answer. The narrator found it strange and could not imagine his grandmother as young or pretty, believing she was always old. 3 answer. The grandmother woke the narrator, bathed and dressed him while singing prayers, prepared his school supplies, fed him chapati and walked him to school. 4 answer. She sat inside the temple next to the school reading holy books. 5 answer. Their friendship weakened as she no longer accompanied him to school, and she disapproved of his English school's lack of religious teachings. 6 answer. She believed music was associated with bad people and not suitable for good families. 7 answer. Feeding sparrows in the courtyard where they perched on her and she smiled was her happiest time. 8 answer. She remained strong, did not cry or speak but prayed silently, kissed his forehead and counted her prayer beads. 9 answer. Instead of praying, she gathered neighborhood women, played an old drum, and sang songs about warriors returning home for hours. 10 answer. Thousands of sparrows gathered quietly around her body and in the courtyard, refusing to eat the bread crumbs thrown to them. 3 picture dictionary page.